Welcome back to Digital Marketing for Contractors, the show from Fat Cat Strategies, the agency that works exclusively with home improvement and remodeling contractors. I am Caitlyn Noble.
And I'm Meredith Medlin. And what you're about to hear is actually a live webinar that we ran with two platforms a lot of you are already familiar with. WhatConverts on the lead tracking and attribution side, and JobNimbus, the CRM that runs the back office for a huge chunk of the contractor world.
We had Robin Day from WhatConverts and Tyson Dudley from JobNimbus on with me to tackle something that has frustrated contractors for as long as digital marketing has existed, actually connecting the dollars you spend on the ads to close those jobs. Not leads, not calls, not appointments, revenue.
One quick heads up, because we started this as a webinar, there are a couple of live software demos in here. So we talk you through what's on the screen as we go, so it holds up on audio. But if you want to watch the dashboards, the video version is also posted to our YouTube channel.
Yeah, so if you're listening to this, on the road, you might not get a lot out of it unless you're watching it, but you can listen because I say some good things.
Yeah.
All right, y'all, here's our conversation. So, hey, everyone, welcome in. I'm Caitlyn Noble with Fat Cat Strategies. We are a digital marketing agency based out of Raleigh, North Carolina, and we're about to get a lot of rain. So if you hear anything in the background or if the power blinks, the guys are going to take over for me. But that being said, we work exclusively with home improvement and remodeling contractors. Today, we are going to talk about something that has been frustrating contractors for as long as digital marketing has existed, actually knowing whether your marketing dollars turn into revenue, not leads, not calls, not appointments, revenue, the money in your bank from a finished job. And the reason we can finally have this conversation in a real way is because of an integration that just went live between two tools that a lot of you already use and love or are looking at. So it's WhatConverts and JobNimbus. And I'm so thrilled to introduce our co-presenters today. We have Robin from WhatConverts. WhatConverts is the lead tracking and attribution platform that agencies serving this industry should already have in their stack. We definitely use it. And we have JobNimbus. This is Tyson Dudley from JobNimbus. JobNimbus is an amazing CRM and operations platform that honestly runs the back office for a huge chunk of contractors out there. Quotes, jobs, invoices, scheduling, all of it. Quick housekeeping before we dive in. We're recording this, so if you have to drop off, totally fine. You're going to get the replay. You're going to get a copy of this deck. But please, by all means, drop questions in the chat as we go. If we have time at the end, we'll definitely get to them. I know we've had several questions already come to us that we're going to answer, and so we will be following up with this deck tomorrow at the latest. So here's what I want you to walk away with today. By the end of this hour, you should have a clear picture of what closed loop attribution actually looks like for a home improvement business. Not the marketing buzzword version, the practical version, what it looks like in your dashboard, in your CRM, and in your ad accounts. All right. Let's get started with why this is hard. And I'm going to talk for a little while, and then I'm going to pass it over to my co-host, I promise. So picture this. You are a contractor. Of course, most of you are. You spend somewhere between $5,000 to $50,000 a month on marketing, depending on your size. Maybe a Google Ads budget, local service ads, Meta. You've got SEO running. You do mailers. Maybe you do some events. And every month you're looking at the question, did any of this work? Most contractors I talk to answer this question in one of three ways, and they're my favorite ways. I have a gut feeling, things feel busy, so it must be working, or things feel slow, something must be broken. Second way, lead count. We got 80 leads this month. That's up from 60 last month. So good, I guess. And then 3, the appointment set number. We booked 25 appointments off our marketing this month, up, down, sideways, whatever. But here's the problem with all 3. None of them tell you whether you made money. Lead count tells you about the top of the funnel. Appointments tell you about the middle, but neither tells you which campaigns, which keywords, which ad sets actually produced jobs that closed. So, believe it or not, it gets worse because right now, in most contractor setups that I see, the data lives in 3 or 4 places and they don't talk to each other. Your ad platform knows what got clicked, your call tracking knows what got called, and your CRM knows what got quoted and booked. And last but not least, your accounting software knows what got paid. But nobody is connecting those dots. So when your sales team finally closes that $40,000 bathroom remodel 3 weeks after the lead came in, that revenue does not flow back to Google Ads. And Google Ads has no idea that lead turned into anything, which means Google's algorithm is optimizing your ad spend based on form fills and phone calls, not on actual revenue. That is the gap that we are going to close today. Let me give you a real example. We have a client, a bathroom remodel company. They were running about $30,000 a month in Google Ads. Their cost per lead looked fine, about $85. That's pretty good. They felt good about it. And when they actually pulled their data and tied it back to closed jobs, we found something brutal. About 60% of their Google Ads budget was going to keywords that produced leads, but those leads almost never closed. They were tire kickers. The other 40% was producing leads that closed at a much higher rate with a much higher average ticket. Once we had that data flowing in the right way, we shifted spend towards the keywords that produced that revenue. Same budget, but about 35% more closed revenue in the next quarter. That story isn't unusual. It's the rule, not the exception. The reason it doesn't happen for most contractors is because the data infrastructure to support it has been a giant pain to build. You've needed custom integrations, developers, Zapier, duct tape, the whole mess. So that's where these 2 tools come in today. I'm going to hand it over to Robin from WhatConverts to walk through the attribution layer. Then Tyson is going to show you what it looks like inside JobNimbus and how that new integration ties it all together. Okay, Robin, let me make sure I'm stopped sharing. The floor is yours.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Caitlyn. Robin here at WhatConverts. As Caitlyn kind of described the problem, this is something that, contractors, marketers face. Let's see, can everybody see my screen here, by the way? Okay,
I
perfect.
Can. Yep.
And so, what I'm going to talk to you about today is I'm going to show you a little bit about how WhatConverts works and how we integrate with JobNimbus, where you may be already kind of, doing your invoicing and creating jobs and all of that. And how we can kind of tie the 2 together. So I want you to think about 2 things that you're going to really benefit with this integration using both of these platforms. One is that your reports will come to life. So when you're already kind of tracking invoices, estimates, quotes, all of that in a CRM like JobNimbus. It's when you pipe that data back to WhatConverts, you will see that, all of your reports come to life. You're able to see how your marketing is actually working down to every single campaign, every ad, every keyword, which ones are performing better than others, down to revenue. It's one thing to kind of, see, which campaigns are bringing in leads and all of that, but it's another thing to see which ones are actually driving revenue. And the other benefit is that you're going to see your ad campaigns actually perform better. So we're going to feed the data from JobNimbus back into WhatConverts. That's going to feed back into your favorite ad platforms. And those use machine learning to kind of, basically train the algorithm. And so when you feed it revenue numbers, like actual hard numbers that you're getting it logged in your CRM, that's when you start to see on average a 30% boost in your actual business. You're going to drive higher quality leads. So let me show you kind of how all of that works. So WhatConverts is a lead tracking platform. So we capture, at basically every touch point. You're a business that gets leads through phone calls. It could be web forms. You might have those live chat widgets on your website. We track all of those different ways that a customer basically expresses interest. If a customer reaches out to you, we're capturing that. And then we tie that back to the actual source. Okay, so if that's a lead that came in organically, we can show you that. If it's a lead that came in through an ad, we show it down to the actual campaign, all the way down to the actual search term that they typed. And so when you're able to tie all of that, you're able to see not just, your standard conversion data, like how many clicks are you getting on each ad, but you're actually able to start seeing, which ones are actually driving the success of your business, which ones are leading to revenue. So let me show you my actual screen here. Let's see. So this is the WhatConverts platform itself. So at the top, you'll see a few links here. This is the dashboard page. So this is going to give you a breakdown of all your leads as they come in. So you can see your leads by type, right? So the leads that are coming in through form fills, from phone calls, it could be e-commerce transactions, all of that. So you see the full breakdown here. And then you can see, further breakdowns, out of your, leads, what sources are driving these leads, right? So paid ads, local service ads, et cetera. What's the status of your leads, right? So are they quotable? Are they dead end leads, not quotable? Which ones are still pending, et cetera. And then when you click here on this leads page, this is kind of like your command center. This is where you spend most of your time in WhatConverts. And so at the top, you've got these useful charts here. And you can also see right here, your total quote value for the time period that you're looking at. You can see how much revenue you've actually booked. And you can even see that against how much you're spending across all of your marketing. We track it against all of your ad campaigns, SEO, organic, et cetera. And then you see your true calculated cost per lead here against all of that marketing. When you scroll down here, this kind of spreadsheet-like interface, this is the heart of the interface. And so every new row here that appears is a lead. And the way we define lead basically is anytime somebody expresses interest, again, reaching out through one of those channels, and you can see all of the different channels that we track right here. You can set that up really easily. We have a little, kind of onboarding sequence when you create an account. So if you're a business that, gets leads through phone calls, we're tracking that, web form fills, et cetera. And so you can see that breakdown right here. So I can see my leads by what type they are. So if I want to see just the callers, people who are calling in, I can see that. I can also see if they're repeat leads or unique leads, et cetera. And then when I click into a lead, so if I click here, for example, I get this lead detail view and I can see this entire journey. So I can see the whole sequence. It's almost like a little forensic analysis that allows me to see every single touch point leading up to the actual conversion action. So for example, I can see that this lead saw this ad for this particular campaign. This was the keyword that was searched, and then they landed on this page, and this is on a certain date and time. And then sometime later, they actually made a phone call. They called in. So we're able to actually record those calls, listen back to them, read the transcript. Then sometime later after that, they made a direct visit, and then finally went on to do a transaction. So this is the kind of level of detail that WhatConverts is basically tracking automatically in the background. So you're able to see your source, medium, campaign, content, keyword for every single individual that's coming into your business. And so by default, we track over 70 different data points. And you can actually customize these to your particular vertical. You can create custom fields, like job type or who was the salesperson on the call, et cetera. And so how does this all kind of tie into JobNimbus? And so, JobNimbus it's you can see it like a CRM, right? So you're going into JobNimbus to, capture, the contact information, create quotes, invoices, estimates, all of that. And so the way it works, if you go here to this tracking link at the top, you'll see right here we have integrations. And when you go over to CRMs, you'll see JobNimbus. All you have to do is hit connect, And then you're automatically sending all of this lead data over to JobNimbus. Every time a new lead comes in, we create a new contact automatically in JobNimbus. And then from there, as you quote the lead and then create invoices and all of that, that information will beam right back. So if you send out an estimate for one of your leads in JobNimbus, you'll see that information show up right here. For each lead, you can see how much you're quoting them. And then when that lead goes ahead and pays for a service, you'll see this sales value update as well. And so these values are very important because, like I said, you can enter these manually when you're using WhatConverts on its own, but to have these true values come in from JobNimbus, it does two things. Like I said, it brings your reports to life, and it also feeds back into Google Ads. So let me talk about the first point. If you click here, for example, on your keywords, we can get this quick report. And you can see here, I can see, kind of my top performing keywords. These are the leads that are coming in. We had 15, leads come in for branded plumbing. We had 12 leads come in for emergency plumbing service. So that's nice, but look at this. When I click on one of these, so I can see my top keywords, but based on how much I'm actually quoting, you'll see we have a different kind of view. We get these other insights. So I can see that my top performing keyword in terms of what we're actually quoting, dollar value, is emergency plumbing service. And then if I go over here to, see how much revenue we're actually booking per keyword, we can see these are our top performing keywords in terms of revenue. So you get a totally different picture when you start tracking revenue. And so that's one of the major benefits. When you integrate JobNimbus, you're beaming that information right back here into WhatConverts, and you're able to get a true picture of how things are performing down to the actual dollar numbers. The second thing that I want to show you is how this all kind of feeds back into your favorite ad platform like Google Ads. So you go here to tracking, click on integrations, and you'll see right here, you can simply connect to one of your ad platforms, right? So if, Google Ads is the biggest one, you might want to click connect there, but you may be using, Meta ads or Microsoft Bing ads, et cetera. And so the way it works is that, these ad platforms use machine learning to optimize their targeting, right? So, you create an ad campaign, you start to see clicks and leads coming into your business, calls are coming in, people who are seeing those ads. And you can see, of course, you're not getting those calls in blind with a platform like this. You're able to see exactly which of your leads are coming in from each of these campaigns, right? I can type here and say, let's look at my leads coming in just from paid Google ads. And so now I can see, I've filtered it down to 173 leads here from that source and medium. And so Google talks about this idea called audience signals, and you can read about this online. And the way it works is we can actually feed back conversion data, basically additional data points to train the algorithm. And what it'll do is it'll take that information and retarget to try to bring you better quality leads. And Google wants to do this really well because the ads business is actually Google's kind of largest chunk of revenue. Google's involved in all kinds of projects from Waymo to Google Maps, and they have to keep the servers running and all of that. Google Ads is their largest kind of revenue driver, and they want to do it well. They're the leader in the online digital advertising space. And so they want to effectively bring the right people to the right businesses. And so they use machine learning to do that. And what we're able to do is feed all of this data back over to Google. And Google itself will say this, if you do value-based bidding, which means you're actually feeding revenue numbers back, we're sending these success metrics back to Google, that's kind of the holy grail. If we can send back true, kind of quote values or sales values of these leads that are coming from these ads, when we feed that back and we tell Google, hey, this wasn't just a click, this wasn't just someone who called, but this is someone who actually ended up spending $5,000 on our business. When you send that back as a success metric, Google then starts to rewire its algorithm to target more individuals who'd be likely to spend that kind of money on your business. So yeah, that's a little bit about how the platform works and how JobNimbus works, and it kind of addresses the problem that Caitlyn was talking about. So at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Tyson over at JobNimbus, so he can kind of show you that side of things.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let me just get sharing here. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Robin. I'm so excited for this integration because, like, as Robin explained, it helps. WhatConverts helps so much in knowing where to put your money and if you're putting your money in the right spot. Okay. Now, when it comes to JobNimbus, what we do is if WhatConverts is the front door and it's telling us who's coming in and where they're coming in, JobNimbus is the entire rest of the house. So what we do, and if you're not familiar with JobNimbus, you'll get a good look at it right now. But what we do is we're very well known in like the home improvement. There might be some customers on here right now. But we take everything from like your lead intake all the way to invoicing and everything in between. Like it says estimates and quotes, jobs and scheduling. There's also customer communication involved, material orders, and we'll kind of go through that a little bit. So let me just jump in to JobNimbus and show you kind of what it looks like and how it works with WhatConverts and why that is important. So here on your screen is what you would see on your day-to-day basis with inside of JobNimbus. This is our boards section, okay? We wanted to build something super easy that anyone and everyone can follow, so this is what we created, okay? These headings up at the top, you have lead, appointments scheduled, estimating, and it goes down all the way to paid and closed and even lost, so you can keep track of everything. The nice thing too is it's extremely customizable. So it's not us trying to fit our way of doing things into your business, but it's you working with us to make this extremely cohesive, okay? Well, let's just jump into a job here that I've done with WhatConverts. I'm gonna jump into this signed contract for me, Dudley Inc. Now you can see right off the bat when you just click on it to get just a little view of that job and what it entails. You can see the description is roof repair coming from WhatConverts, and then I can add a more descriptive description, if that makes sense, and say, hey, due to recent storm damage, Sarah and Tyson need a re-roof, okay? It sounds like in North Carolina where Caitlyn's at, this may come into play here very shortly. But in the details here, you see that there's a couple things, okay? Mainstream workflow, that's great. Location, WhatConverts. Awesome, it's coming from WhatConverts. The biggest thing I wanna point out is the lead source. Here, we have Google and paid search. So automatically, the information that's coming from WhatConverts is telling us who's coming in, where they're coming in from, okay? The nice thing about this is it's gonna stay with the job as long as the job is inside of JobNimbus. And as long as none of your contractors or your subcontractors or your employees change it, it's always gonna be there, easy to reference, okay? Well, let's just jump into this job, and I wanna show you a little bit about what JobNimbus can do. Now that we know it's come from a Google paid search, this detailed page is always going to be here on the side. That way it's a quick, easy reference. If anyone has any questions where this is coming from, you can answer it, okay? With inside JobNimbus, I have this job as a little re-roof. You can do so many different things, and frankly, we don't have enough time to go through every single one of them, but I do want to hit some of the key points here. Okay, for instance, for those of you in contracting and doing home improvement stuff, photos are important to show what you're doing, where the damage is at, what you're gonna do. Upload them into JobNimbus and they'll forever be with that job. Documents, you have those important invoices and estimates, material orders, things like that that will then live inside the job. They can be uploaded or we can find through an integration to get these into your JobNimbus. the big thing that I want to point out here is your estimates. Okay, estimating is huge these days. The better looking, the faster estimates are gonna get that job. Now, the nice thing here is you see right here, I have an estimate, it's fully signed and it's been invoiced. So we have just under $6,000 invoiced, ready to go. Now, why is that number important? Well, if we jump into my WhatConverts, I can jump into my unique lead here, and when I view my lead, that quotable value is pulled from JobNimbus. So it automatically, once it's invoiced inside of JobNimbus, it just goes right into WhatConverts. So now you have two places to always have something and keep on top of things. Okay, now going down the list here, we have, you can take this estimate and you can convert it into several different things, your material orders, your work orders, an invoice you can make out of this. So I can come in here and do a material order, right? This is what it would look like. Quantities, everything's perfect, okay? Send this off to your supplier. Okay, now next thing is getting that payment and getting the invoices. Okay, you can see here, I messed up on one shingle, so it's not exactly that number. But once this is invoiced, once you get paid, it then will go into WhatConverts, like Robin mentioned, and hit in that sales value. That is so important because now, like Robin said, it's not just a click. It's not just someone viewed your page or live chatted in. It's not anything random anymore. You put a monetary value on that click. That click got $6,000, okay? So it doesn't matter if, you know, your process within inside of JobNimbus is a 3-day process or like a 90-day process. You know exactly through this job within inside of JobNimbus where it's coming from, how much it was, and then with WhatConverts, now you get to see where your money has been being put to good use and maybe not being put to good use, right? So you can focus on really what's making you money, and it's a great platform to do it. Now, a quick couple tips on getting the most out of this, okay, is making sure your sales teams aren't manually overriding the system. I see all the time this lead source, someone will come in and change it, which you're able to do, but just leave it alone. Let WhatConverts just pull that in. It's nice and easy. They've done such a good job over at WhatConverts making sure this integration is seamless and spotless. So let that do it, okay? And another thing too is this data is super important, okay? Use this source data within your sales process. Let them know that people are finding you on Google. Hey, you might have seen us on Google. You probably saw our Instagram ad. Hey, you saw this. Did you get our mailer? The 3 people I've talked to that we've got their lead from, they've seen our mailer. That's how we know, okay? And then the key thing too is to set up a weekly review with your marketing agency. So like with Caitlyn, let's talk to Caitlyn every week and say, okay, where with JobNimbus, with WhatConverts, it's telling us that Google paid search is the best way that we can do business, okay? Maybe it's Instagram, okay? Maybe it's Meta and Facebook and all that, but for right now, Google paid search. I bet you Caitlyn would be over the moon if a client came to her and said, hey, Google paid search is where we need to put our money, okay? She doesn't have to go research a bunch of things. She just knows, and you guys can work together in building that great relationship and really just nailing it on the head right there. So the integration's a tool that you guys can use, and using that tool to make better decisions. And I know exactly from what the Fat Cat team does, they'll do great with that. So with that being said, I'll pass it back on to Caitlyn. Oh, Caitlyn, you're muted, Caitlyn.
I think you're still muted. There you go.
Can everyone hear me now? That was fun. Thanks, guys, for the kind words and for the wonderful demos. Both of these platform softwares are just amazing, and I know many of our clients use them, and we highly recommend them. So it truly does bring it all together, and that's something that we pride ourselves on as an agency, is attribution and sales dollars and ROI and all of those amazing words that a lot of agencies kind of skirt around. So speaking of, let's bring it all the way home. Okay. Now that you've seen what the closed loop attribution looks like, end to end, lead comes in, source gets captured by WhatConverts, lead lands into JobNimbus with full attribution attached. The lead becomes a quote, the quote becomes a job, the job becomes paid revenue, and that revenue flows back to your ad platforms automatically. Here's what changes when this is in place. First, your ad platforms get smarter. Google, Meta, whatever you're running, the algorithm starts optimizing for revenue, not just form fills. You'll see efficiency improvements within 30 to 60 days. Second, your team makes better decisions. Your sales managers can see which sources produce real jobs. Your marketing person, whether it's an agency or in-house, can shift budget towards what's working with actual data behind it. And third, you stop guessing. The biggest cost of broken attribution isn't the wasted spend. It's the time you spend in arguments and gut feel debates about what's working. Real data ends those arguments. All right. Here's your 30-day starter plan. If you want to actually do this, there's a rough order of operations. Week one. So you're going to get WhatConverts set up on your website and phone numbers, all of that set up. If you're already running it, audit your tracking, make sure every form, every phone number, every chat is being captured. Number two, week two, you're going to connect WhatConverts to JobNimbus. Test the lead push. Make sure new leads are flowing in with source data attached. Week three, you're going to turn on new revenue sync, run a test job all the way through. Quote, job, invoice. Make sure the revenue data flows back to WhatConverts cleanly. And then finally, week four, July should be a longer month. So if you start in July, you might have an extra week. Connect WhatConverts to Google Ads, Meta, and any other platform you run. Turn on conversion value uploads, then start watching the data. I know that sounds a lot of jargon. I know I said there wasn't going to be a lot of jargon. You've got a great team. Whether it's me, Robin, Tyson, all three of us, we can help you guys get that set up within the next 30 days. But that's genuinely it. A month of focused setup, and you're going to have a closed loop attribution running for your business. If you're a Fat Cat client and you're on here, your account manager can walk you through this directly, like I just said. If you're not a Fat Cat client and this sounds like the kind of thing you want help with, of course you can reach out. You've got my information now. So Robin's team at WhatConverts, Tyson's team at JobNimbus, they can also help on your side. I'll just say it a couple times. So let's get into some questions. We've got about 20 minutes. So yay, we're doing a good job here, but that's good. I know everybody's busy. I'm going to ask the questions. I may also answer them. I know Robin and Tyson are going to also answer them. So first things first, how long does it take to see results once we have everything connected? Love this question. When I'm pitching WhatConverts to our clients in terms of that attribution side of things, I get asked this a lot. The data is going to start flowing in day one. The optimization improvements take a little longer because the ad platforms need data to learn from. You typically see meaningful efficiency gains in 30 to 60 day window after the loop is closed. Bigger ad budgets tend to see results faster because the algorithm has more data to work with. So 30 to 60 day window-ish. All right, Robin, this one's for you. Do I have to be a current WhatConverts customer to use the JobNimbus integration?
Yeah, so you can obviously use either platform on its own, and it'll solve whatever problem that you're using it for very effectively. But it's the whole point of this integration that we're talking about is the sort of benefit that you get when the platforms sort of feed data back to each other. And so, like I said, again, there's two kind of main benefits that you get from it. One, your reports are going to come to life, both inside JobNimbus as well as inside WhatConverts. You know, when you're able to see the full closed loop, right? So your leads, they're coming in, where are they coming from? How much are they actually booking in terms of revenue? How much are you quoting them? You're able to start, you get these kind of macro level insights. You can kind of step back and look at the business as a whole and see what's working, which ads are working. Should I spend more next month on a certain campaign because it was driving in the majority of the revenue? Pull back on ad campaigns that are not working as effectively. And then the other thing that you get is, you know, like Caitlyn said, the ad platforms themselves start to work better. You're training the algorithm. When you feed this revenue data back over to Google, to Meta, et cetera, they use machine learning. Within 30 to 60 days, you're going to start to see a boost in your actual business. You're going to get better quality leads coming back in. Both platforms have free trials as well. So, you know, there's no harm in trying it and testing it out and just seeing. And then, of course, Caitlyn and her team, you know, will provide you the expertise that you need to kind of, you know, make the best of this stuff.
Definitely. Cool. Thank you. And then this is a good question about LSA. I know we've talked a lot about Google ads on that side of things. We've touched on Meta, but in terms of those local service ads, how does this work? Those leads don't always have great source data. So this is definitely a real pain point. LSAs are tricky because Google doesn't share as much detail. However, WhatConverts captures LSA leads and tags them as LSA, and you can track them through the revenue system the same, like through to revenue the same way. So you may not get that keyword level data, but that's not how LSA really works anyways, like you do with Google ads. But you will know if an LSA lead goes on to sell through JobNimbus, which is obviously really useful. So yes, this does work. All right, Tyson, what if our sales cycle is really long? There's a lot. Some of our jobs take 90 days from first call to closed.
Well, it wouldn't be my first time hearing this, but this is actually one of the strongest cases for this whole setup. Like I said, like, you know, with inside of JobNimbus, you're able to see in a really easy way everything that's being done. Nothing really falls through the cracks. It's a lot better than like spreadsheets, because spreadsheets are stale and you kind of get sick of looking at them, and you know, they're hard to design cool, right? So being able to really see that all laid out in like those boards that we have makes it really easy. So it really doesn't matter whether it's 7 days, 70 days, it doesn't matter. And at the same time, like that lead source that comes from WhatConverts will always be there. So it's not like you're having to remember, you know, it came from Google, you know, because in 3 days you're going to forget that. So having WhatConverts actually put that inside of JobNimbus and have it just stay with that job makes it so easy to keep track.
Truly. I mean, we see it. I've said it once, I'll say it again. Like the clients we have doing this, it's unbelievable. So happy about this. Does this work for organic leads too, Robin, or just paid?
Yeah, it works across the board. So, you know, like I was showing you earlier, you're going to be able to see at the source and medium level for all of your leads, right? So the difference, of course, is that if the leads come in through a paid ad, which we're able to track, we're able to feed that back to the ad platform itself. And then you get that kind of trained algorithm benefit where it starts to retarget for optimized lead. It's optimizing for revenue. With organic, of course, you know, you're still able to track the conversion itself. All the same benefits. You get to see, you know, are my organic leads, you know, how much are they booking in terms of revenue, how much are we quoting them, et cetera. So it's a good way to, you know, get the kind of thermometer on how you're doing organically across the board. Really across all of your marketing channels, we're able to track all of it. So yeah, The main benefit though, the difference is that with paid ads, we actually feed this data back you get those additional benefits.
Yeah, it's no brainer. And honestly, the integration to do that is so simple. So, I love logging in and being able to quickly see, from TV to wraps, truck wraps to yard signs to organic to GBP to LSA. You can see every single month which lead source has produced revenue, and it's really powerful. So my favorite question across all boards. So how much does all this cost? Okay, so pricing is going to vary by your size and volume. Both WhatConverts and JobNimbus have very transparent pricing on their websites, and the integration itself does not add additional cost on top of those subscriptions. The bigger conversation is what it costs you to not have this in place. If you're spending 5 figures a month on marketing, at least 5 figures, and you can't tie it to revenue, the cost of staying in the dark is going to be a lot higher than the cost of those tools. So worth it. And Sasha did just let me know we have a question in chat. Guys, we're gonna go off script. So, do we need Zapier to connect WhatConverts to JobNimbus? I think it integrates directly, right?
Yeah. So that's something. So originally, the way it worked was you used Zapier to actually beam the data back, but we've made improvements to it. So now you just set up the integration, and you get that kind of two-way communication. We're actually making additional enhancements to it as we speak. I can't give you exact dates on when the new features will release, but yeah, it's a seamless kind of two-way connection. Our team will help you set it up. JobNimbus team will help you set it up as well. So we're here to help you, get it integrated. But it's literally just a click away, and you're pretty much good to go.
Exactly. And we've done that. We can do it too for you. So it's lovely. The support on all sides is so great. And I love this question too. Is this the same for other platforms? I am going to go off on a whim. I think this is the first of its kind with like the service situation, do you guys, I know you guys integrate, WhatConverts integrates with other CRMs, but what about other industry related CRMs
Yeah, we have, we integrate with over 1,000 other platforms. We're very user friendly in that way, but we did write, this is a native sort of integration that we coded from scratch with JobNimbus, connecting directly through their API. We've got one with Jobber as well, but these are specialized sort of integrations that we've set up manually in-house to give you that kind of seamless back and forth of data.
Okay, that's fantastic. And safe to say here on our end, us integrating with WhatConverts through Zapier, however you want to say it, is very easy. So no matter what you are using, it works well. So cool. Thank you, Sasha, for sharing those with us. Thanks, guys, for answering those. And thanks for being on the call. Robin from WhatConverts, Tyson from JobNimbus. So wonderful. I know we met a bunch. We connect all the time anyways, because it's that wonderful network that we have. Like I said, the recording is going to go out tomorrow along with the resource sheet that has links with everything we've talked about and contact item or info for all three of us. Also, this is super exciting. We have a special 30-day WhatConverts trial available. So typically you can try WhatConverts for 14 days, but because you guys attended this webinar, we've extended it for 30 days. You have to go to whatconverts.com/fatcat. We're going to also email this out so you can actually do that full 30-day test. So that's really exciting. Again, if you take anything else from today, stop measuring marketing by leads, start measuring it by revenue. The tools exist. The setup takes about a month. The payoff is finding about 20 to 40% more revenue inside the same ad budget that you're already spending. It's a no-brainer. Okay, I appreciate you guys. Thanks everyone for being here, and we will definitely see you guys next time. That's the episode. A huge thanks once again to Robin at WhatConverts and Tyson at JobNimbus for walking through all of it with me.
If you take one thing away from today, take this. Stop measuring your marketing by leads and start measuring it by revenue. The The tools to do it already exist. The setup runs about a month, and the payoff is finding real money inside the same ad budget that you're already spending.
And if you want a hand at putting all of this in place, that is exactly what we do here at Fat Cat. You can find us at fatcatstrategies.com. And if you're already a Fat Cat client, thanks for listening. Your account manager can walk you through it directly.
All right. Thanks for listening to Digital Marketing for Contractors. We will see you next time.
Bye.